Sorry about that. Thank you so much, Gloria. As somebody who grew up in the Philadelphia area, reading Stan, reading Bill Lyon, reading so many writers who have come through this town, this is just an incredible honor to have, to be connected to Stan in this way. It's just overwhelming. I'm very, very humbled. And obviously I thank Gloria for that wonderful introduction. I want to thank, obviously, the Philadelphia Sports Writers Association. I guess I have to become a member now. There are fewer things that fill someone, I think, with pride more than being recognized by your peers. And so that makes this particularly special. It also makes it particularly special because as someone who once worked in the market and came back a couple of years ago, I know the quality of sports writers and sports journalists in this market. There are a number of them, many of whom are here tonight, who are every bit as deserving to be up here, if not more so than I am. And I'm very proud to call them colleagues and competitors and friends. I want to thank my editors at the Inquirer, John Quinn, who is our sports editor, and some of you may know, has been in ill health lately. He's a very strong man, and he's on the way back. And if you have time for a good thought tonight, please give one to John Quinn. I want to thank his deputy, the man in charge now, Gary Petoskey. They were kind of the shepherds of the series I did about Jairo Munoz. One of my favorite newspaper movies of all time is The Paper, that Ron Howard directed. And my favorite line in that movie is delivered by Michael Keaton. He plays a Metro editor for a New York tabloid. He says to Randy Quaid, who's playing the Metro columnist, you know, "You're not a columnist, you're a reporter who writes long." And I wrote really, really long for this series. And I'm very appreciative to the people at the Inquirer for allowing me to do that and for seeing the vision of being able to tell the story of Jairo Munoz, because I thought it was an important story. For those of you who aren't familiar with the series, didn't get a chance to read it, Jairo was born in the Dominican Republic, came over to the United States after being signed by the Kansas City Royals, and then was released and thought his baseball career was over. He really had nowhere else to go. He ended up making his way to West Philadelphia, living in a one-room apartment, working in a bodega about 1.5 miles away, sending money back home to the Dominican, to his wife and his newborn daughter we hadn't met yet. And from there, he's able to make his way through a very incredible set of circumstances, actually, to now be in the Phillies minor league organization. And the three tables of Phillies people, and David won't contradict me, he's got a pretty bright future with them now. He pitched at Lakewood last year, and is moving up their minor league system. They have really high hopes for him. With that backdrop, there are three people I'd like to acknowledge tonight who are here tonight. I'm very grateful to have them here. The reason I found out about this story literally is because I bought a t-shirt with a credit card. I walked into a t-shirt shop in the town where I live, Doylestown in Bucks County, and the guy behind the counter read my credit card and said, "Hey, you have the same last name as a sports writer." I said, "Well, yeah, that's me." And we ended up talking. He said, "Oh, I have a great story for you." And he basically ended up telling me the story of Jairo Munoz as I'm trying to buy a t-shirt for my 4-year-old son. And that gentleman is Derek Morgan. If Derek, I don't know where you are, if you can just stand up, wave your hand somewhere. Thanks. Literally and then the other two people I want to acknowledge. What was incredible about writing the story was that Jairo, it's not too much to say he really didn't have a future in baseball at all. And then through these unique set of circumstances, he comes to be pitching for a semi-pro team in the Philadelphia Fall Baseball League. And as he's pitching for this team, there's a guy who runs the team and his wife who are getting to interact with Jairo a little bit. And at one point, they decide to take him into their house, into their home. A young kid, 22 years old, barely speaks any English, in a strange country, kind of looking at this 1 in a million shot at trying to get back to the major leagues. And this couple takes him in, teaches him English, acclimates him to the United States, to our culture, and really sets him on the path that he's continuing now to get to where he wants to go. And that couple live in Drexel Hill. Their names are John and Katie Durso, and they're here tonight. I'd really like to acknowledge them as well. You guys can stand up. When you think about what they did, they are really incredible people, and the story would not have been possible. The story of Jairo Munoz would not have been possible, let alone my being able to report it and write it. And that brings me to the last thing I just wanted to mention tonight. If you've paid any attention, and I'm sure a lot of you have, to the news about the state of newspapers, both in the country writ large and in our area, you know it's not great. We've been struggling at the Inquirer, at the Daily News, with Philly.com, and that extends throughout the Delaware Valley, from the Delco Times, you know, to the Bucks and Burlington County papers, to the Courier Post. It's rough out there for us now, and we're doing the best to kind of plow our way through it, and hopefully come out on the other side. But the one thing I think it's worth noting tonight, and a banquet like this is a really great place to do it, is that those papers, those media outlets, those websites are where most of all you can go to find stories like Jairo Munoz. If you caught the Sunday Inquirer, for instance, you read Mike Jensen's article about Carly Lloyd, about how what it took for her to get to the point that she was at, where 16 minutes of unparalleled excellence on a world stage can not only change her life, but can change the lives of hundreds of thousands of young women around the country, and really around the world. You know, you can get Dick Girardi writing about the 25th anniversary of Hank Gather's death and what it meant to our city, to our basketball community. You can get Bob Ford writing about the 75th birthday of Roman Catholic High's gymnasium. And we spent a lot of time in this town debating sports and yelling and screaming about sports and who the Eagles quarterback's going to be and all that sort of stuff, and that's great, and that drives the train, and we all love it. But the places that I just mentioned, those are the places you're going to go to get those kind of stories that you're not going to get anywhere else. So I wanted to make that point tonight, and if there's anything you can do, whether it's a good thought or just going out and buying a paper on a Tuesday morning, something like that, I think I speak for all the sports writers here when I say we would appreciate it very much. So thank you again. This is a terrific honor. Thank you. Enjoy the evening.